Now, we have a couple other warrant articles that we haven't covered. Those ought to be pretty straightforward. Can you pick out the one with Glendale boat launch? Right, we haven't voted on that one.
What number is it?
That's number 4?
Correct.
Yes, it is. And in my memorandum to you, there is information about that as you requested. And that
Right.
would be on page 5, going back to the front of your package.
I think the only thing I would throw out to the people, and it's, I'm not actively using the launch down there, or the docks down there, but I am a boater. And this is an asset that the town has, and I really think it's something you have to continually keep on top of. So I obviously support this from the consideration that we are on the lake. It is an important part of the community.
How many years have we been funding this? This is a yearly thing, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, this has 31,000 in, and as his note said, you know, there's paving needs to be done. The island people use it a lot. The docks as well as transient use and so forth.
We've been repairing the docks.
So,
We've done dock work for several years.
yeah, those are both.
Yeah, I think there's one left, isn't there?
Okay.
No, I think the docks are all
There's
done.
paving.
The paving and there may be some work on the one launch.
Just in case. Yeah.
I may get lucky.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion so we can get the vote going, at least, or the discussion going, to approve Article number 4, as written, $10,000 for the Glendale Boat and Launch Ramp Facilities Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund.
Second.
Any more discussion on that article? All right, all those in favor of warrant article 4, which is $10,000 for Glendale, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I abstained.
Abstain?
Yeah, it's a paving. I might get lucky and get something.
That's what I
Oh,
said.
okay. 11 to 0. Pass. One abstain. Are there any other warrant articles we haven't? That was the only one I had written down that we hadn't voted on. You know of any other ones, Scott?
We have received one petition so far. That would be Article 11.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's right.
What are 12 and 13?
Those are anticipated,
Oh, the ones in italics?
but we have not yet received petitions.
So these 11, 12, and 13 would be the only outside agencies you're anticipating?
Oh, there's more on the next
No,
page.
I copied them over from last year. And
Oh, okay.
Something's coming because they're still out.
You've received one of the five.
But
Just
right now you
Article 11 is the only
received
one we
11.
actually have in our hands that's been certified.
Yeah, I think you've probably received some more, so we'll have to vote on those after the public hearing. Because what, 10th is the last day to get them in?
Yes.
So we'll have another, we'll meet right after the public, or right before, if you have them before.
The other one that I've thrown in here that you don't necessarily have to make a recommendation on, but I wanted you to see it, and that is the Article 16. Selectmen haven't yet weighed in on this either. You may choose not to do so because there is no appropriation, but I wanted to give you that option if you would want to make a recommendation. These article numbers are going to change once the actual warrant is put together. This is strictly a draft.
So, Mr. Chairman, are we going to wait?
I would say we get Article 11, or Article
11.
11 out of the way. And like I said a little bit ago, I'm open to any input. I don't think there's anybody here to support it. As I said a little bit ago, we might as well just vote on it.
Yeah.
We haven't changed anybody's mind on any of these for 10 or 11 years, so I'm open to a vote on whether the Budget Committee supports Article 11.
Well, you
that?
just said that, you just said that. Does anyone want to speak on it?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appropriate $3,500 for Child and Family Services for their counseling and family support services.
Second.
Is there anybody out there want to speak on this since I screwed up last time?
I have a quick question, very quick.
Mm.
Selectmen,
Mm.
I noticed that,
All of them.
not recommended by a vote of 3-0. What was it last year and previous years?
Same.
Same.
We made that decision even as a budget committee, and I think it was the first year I was on as selectman. I think it was 4 years ago or so that we all said, we're going to turn it over to the general public
Right.
and let the public decide. As
Yeah.
a board, we said the same thing, is
Okay,
we're not going to
fine,
get into that. We'll allow the general public and let the general public vote on it.
got it.
I think everybody would be delighted if we didn't vote on it, but we have no choice.
That may change as a different board goes on, but I can just say what
No,
we've
I
done.
understand, I just forgot about it.
Yep.
Okay. All those in favor of the $3,500 in warrant Article 11, say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. All those opposed, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Huh, about right. All right, so the Budget Committee doesn't support this warrant article by a vote of 4 to 8, or 8 to 4, whichever way you want to count it. Anything else we missed?
What about these year-end encumbrances that is that,
Well, we'll get to that. That's
Okay.
later on. Now, the next thing on our agenda is we were talking about ways to offset the $59,000 for the 17th police officer, and the selectmen made a recommendation to us to wait until they made some change to the budget and see what they could come up with. So here we are. Let's review what you have done to see what we think of this. And that's in this package right off the bat, right? Is that where it says the total operating budget? They're right on the second page, that little bit down. That if I calculate our number was 11,141,922. The selectmen's current number is 11,067,915. Is that right?
That is correct.
So there's $74,007 difference. Is that the number you guys took out since then? Since we last met?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What is it?
And so each one of these paragraphs describes where the money came from that adds up to that $74,000.
It talks in general about all the differences between the selectmen's budget,
Right.
revised budget, and what the budget committee has done to date.
Okay, it includes ours to make that, okay.
So a lot of those are revisions in health insurance and insurances, and that's just better numbers today?
Yes.
Aha, I do recognize the tax collector person here.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Gus? We're basically funding the police officer, 17th police officer.
Yep.
What are the major things? We're reducing a body in the town clerk tax collector's office.
Correct.
For, and what's that gonna cover? That's gonna be, what, 50,000 or so?
39,713,
Let's see it, okay.
page 2.
I just want to say that, you know, I presented the police budget. We talked with Chief Keenan for quite a while. The subcommittee saw a need for the police officer. The subcommittee agreed to present it to the full committee to vote on. We did. What, in my head, what I was looking at was adding that money to the bottom line of the budget. That was it. Fred amended my, I think it was my 75 down to 57. Okay. And it was, put that money in the budget or don't. I know what Dick's going to say about budgeting. That's part of budgeting. You find a need here, then you've got to take it from somewhere else. But in my head, what I was thinking is we're going to add that to the budget. That was what I saw on the table. We voted on that. It passed. And then it was said, now let's find someplace else to fund this. In my 4 years on the budget committee, the very few times that we've added money to the budget, there haven't been very many times, we've never voted on it, passed it, and then said, well, let's go find something from another department. If I had known that, and shame on me for thinking that way, I would have told Chief Keenan right then and there that no, you either find it in your department or you're not going to have the 17th officer. I'm not going to propose a 17th officer. It's bothering me because we're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're pitting departments against each other. I understand the process, but that's really bothering me.
Well, let me go through the process again. We've always had the situation, at least as long as I've been around and I can remember, is the budget's never done until the public hearing. So we go through and review it and understand it, and we make votes on it. But like this last session, we had the opportunity to go back and say, well, geez, we did all of this, but we've been enlightened since then, and we're going to change something. At the time you put that through, I'm the guy that came out and gave you a way of finding $59,000, and everybody said, we're going to go off and consider it, because the way I was willing to vote for that...
After we voted on it.
Yeah, but the way I was willing to vote for that, I said in my mind, I'm going to go find $59,000, because we've looked at an $11 million budget. There's ways in there to find that. And we're not killing anybody along the way, because as Jeff told us, there's always $100,000 left over. You know, and that's part of budgeting. I understand. I've done all of that. So then the selectmen have gone about and made some changes here, and a lot of them are nothing more than insurance rates. The significant ones from my point of view is the town tax collector, the planning and land use, police, and a little bit in highway. So the other ones are mostly just, decrease the line item for vehicle fuels by $8,150. I mean, that's judgment. So who can argue with those things? You guys have the responsibility of making it happen. Who would argue with it? So from my perspective as a committee, we can look at the large ones if we want to and attack them or agree with them or smile and do nothing.
Go ahead, Dick.
I think my question is more just out of curiosity, because you're right, I mean, the budget in the past has always been open until after the hearing, and we can go back, and we have gone back, not necessarily in this sort of scenario, but we have gone back and made changes well down the line.
Right.
What's different this time is that in the face of an increase that we voted for, it was the selectmen that asked to pull the budget back. What was different this year? Because that I haven't seen happen.
Well, they
I've
saw
seen-
us working to try and pull it back.
I've seen us go back and recommend changes. I haven't seen the selectmen proactively say, stop your work, we're gonna redo it. So maybe you have some insight as to why this year was handled differently.
All I can speak about is this year. I can't speak about previous years. All I can tell you is that it's the role of the selectmen to present the budget committee and then obviously the general public with a budget, which we had done. I use my own word for my own self. Unfortunately, this budget committee as a majority voted to put additional dollars into the bottom line of the budget. We took a stance that we were telling the general public, the town administrator, the department managers, and the employees that we wanted a flat budget or a decrease. That's what we've been saying publicly for, I would say more than months, but months. As a result of this budget committee putting that money back, we had to go back to fine tuning it because we'd committed ourselves to where else can we save money to try to make the taxpayers save as much money as they can. As a result, that's why we started fine tuning it. Whether it's $8,100 here or $681, we were looking at every single dollar. That's why. I mean, it was, but that decision of this budget committee to increase the budget.
Yeah, we were on the path. As a matter of fact, Dick had put some thoughts on paper to begin our own process of doing what you did.
Yep.
So I guess
But
my
we
question
also
was,
had more. We also had more up-to-date numbers than you guys would have.
okay, so,
So
that,
so for instance, if I think it was the chairman who all of a sudden threw out a number to road striping.
Right.
Well, with his list that he had,
yeah.
one of them was road striping. At least this way, because we had updated numbers, we could save that money because we truly believe that the amount under road striping is accurate. What Sheldon and the board has recommended for that.
okay,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And that way, those budgets could still, every single line could still be accurate or tweaked a little bit more accurately versus than just saying my own phrase willy-nilly and just saying, well, let's just take this money out of this money. No, let's try to make it appropriate changes to that budget line by line, department by department, so that we can make accurate changes to that budget to keep us at that flat line.
so essentially what you're saying is that as we began that process, you felt you had more recent or up-to-date numbers and would be able to do that more effectively.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't think there's any argument there. They're a lot closer to it than we are. Yes, Dave.
I'm just trying to get to where we're at now. How much of the, as we looked at this, we recommended X dollars to cut through the budget. We approved added for the 17th police officer, and then the selectmen are coming back and saying they've made some additional changes. I'm just trying to see, what did we recommend cutting, so I could get to, from the number we started to the number we're at today?
But our recommendation was never any more than my piece of paper.
Okay,
Because the selectmen
Because they
asked
took
to
it
change
back.
it.
And then my piece of paper was a suggestion as a starting point.
okay.
never-
But we also, throughout looking at this, we made some minor cuts throughout the whole package. That's what I was trying to get at, where the aggregates are to get to the rough bottom line where we're at now.
Scott, these pages we have are versus what we have done.
Yes, if I could just get to Dave's point, I think up until the selectmen's review, there were about 4 differences between the selectmen's budget and the budget committee's budget, plus the 17th police officer, but the selectmen's original budget did not have that 17th police officer. And they were very minor things with one exception, and that is the budget committee had reduced the elected officials' stipend by 50%.
Right.
So the selectmen looked at all of those things, and they reconciled their budget to the budget committee's numbers, with the exception of that 50% pay reduction for the stipend for the elected officials.
And then they made
And
these.
then we plugged in what we knew were our new rates for health insurance, dental insurance, workers' compensation, property liability,
Fuel.
unemployment, and fuel costs. Then the board said, okay, we're going to put in, we talked to the chief, we explored a couple options about the 17th police officer. We looked, gave a real serious consideration to hiring a prosecutor on a contractual basis, and then taking one of the police officers who currently do that, and putting that person back on the street. And ultimately, the board decided not to do that. They decided we will hire the 17th police officer, and to get there, we need to trim the size of our workforce. So they did that, and then there was an adjustment made in the planning office.
Because you had an
to do a
action take place.
resignation, and
Correct.
so somebody went there. So that's kind of how it all came about.
Yeah, because that was an activity ongoing since we last met.
Yeah. And, you know, some of these things only manifested themselves after the selectmen gave you their budget and had a chance to look at your numbers. The other thing that I think the selectmen that really prompted them to say, we gotta go deeper, is when our tax rate was actually set. You know, we had an idea when the budget was approved at town meeting last year where things were going, and then the final number came in, and we lost $22 million of our valuation, and all the special warrant articles were approved, and the tax rate went up
Right.
17 cents. And the board said, we sure don't want that to happen again. So that's sort of a melting pot that everything got thrown into. And I will say that Denise was unable to be here tonight because she is quite ill, but she has sent the deputy town clerk tax collector, who would really like an opportunity to speak with you folks about the position that's been cut in the town clerk tax collector budget.
Yes, and that's definitely going to happen. I only screw up once normally. I do eventually learn.
How do we do this? Do we vote on their recommended changes as a whole, or do we pick them piece by piece? If we have other changes we want to make, I mean, how?
Well, I think the logical way at this stage of the game is, you know, it's new to us in the sense that you're reading down through this stuff, but those, you look at those changes and see if there's something that bothers you. Otherwise, I would say we vote to accept their changes. But I think what is going to end up is we're all going to make comments along the line and put or take their changes.
Does it matter to anybody that I need to change this?
Doesn't matter.
Nobody wants a break, or you want to keep going and have a gap in
You
our
do know
coverage?
that they're off the air for a time.
A gap doesn't bother me.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Be like Rosemary Woods, 17-minute gap.
Well, just change it. You could have put it in already.
No, you have to
Let's
wait.
pause for
it.
station
Oh.
identification.
How much time do we have to waste then?
Yes, it takes about.
Let's have a commercial.
I'm fine with a break.
I'm fine with a break too,
You know that?
It actually would be only
Yeah,
a
do you know
couple more
that?
minutes.
Do I know what?
That Lakes Region Public Access Television is, all the 3 stations are off the air.
Oh, but just for a little bit of time. They're swapping into equipment.
Well, but they can't give a time when they're going to be back.
So I take it we've declared a break?
Come on without me.
You bet.
Anyway, now the way I would like to proceed,
Wait a minute, take a break.
we don't need it. No, and we told them we would try and give them what we have, and you make the changes as they come.
Just checking.
The way it's already 20 till 9.
So?
I'm not like you. I'm a middle person, not a night person. Anyway, the procedure I would like to follow is the selectmen have done a good job again, have gone in.
Oh, all right.
The procedure I'd like to follow is the selectmen, we're back, we're still meeting. We haven't broken.
Break denied.
I would like to follow the procedure that the selectmen have gone in and have achieved our goal. The 17th police officer is back, is what we voted for, and they've at least met that old budget with that man in fact they've reduced it some more. So then what we have as a job is to go in and look at their reductions and say, do these look good to us or not? And those, obviously we're not going to argue about the insurance rates. So it boils down to the town clerk tax collector, the planning and land use, which they have some data which we didn't have, of the police, and the highway department. Other than that, they're all little adjustments of fuel rates or insurance rates.
The
comfortable with the big ones. Tax collector.
I'd like to build a number so I see where we're at. If I'm reading here, we're saying 11,067,915 plus 125 for Memorial Day and 1,500 for Lakes Business Park, which brings us to 11,069,540, and they keep on going from there. So we, at the end of the trail, I have some number I can look at compared to where the original budget is. At the moment, I'm disjointed from seeing where we're at, unless there's another piece of paper that summarizes this.
Well, we start off with the 11,141,922, and that's comparable to the 11,067,915, right, Scott?
With the exception, the Selectmen's 11,067,915 number includes the two items that the Budget Committee had not yet made a decision on.
Okay.
Memorial Day.
So those have those...
So that is in, those figures are in the Selectmen's 11,067.
Okay, so that's not added to that.
It wouldn't be added to theirs, it would need to be added to your number, because that hasn't been done.
So the question in my mind is, does this committee have anything to discuss on any of the items other than the three that are the big items? Yes.
Yes. Kevin, I'm going to flip you out. I agree with what you said earlier. Either you put it in or you don't put it in at all.
Well, that's what
Yeah, because I'm looking at the changes that are done here and I disagree with them. I mean, your way would have been better just to say, never mind.
You know, and maybe it was only because it had never come up before.
Yeah.
And I know it's, nobody's doing anything wrong by doing it this way.
But I don't
We just never
understand.
had I always just thought it was going to be added or it wasn't.
It's never been that way. I mean, from the day you've joined this budget committee, we've always said nothing is closed until the public hearing.
No, I'm not saying that.
I don't know what you're saying.
Ask Skip what he said.
Kevin started off by saying he would not have made his recommendation if he knew that this process was going to go on. It was either going to add the money into the police budget or don't add the extra policeman at all, period. Rather than trying to re-divvy
They
up.
could have found it in the PD budget. Fine.
Yeah. Right. Now,
Shame
Can I-
on me.
can I continue?
Yeah?
Because I got a couple other things. I always have thoughts. I looked at the Citizen today and I noticed that, there are some promotions in there, and congratulations to the promotions. But I also kind of figured that with a promotion there's now going to be a cost base difference to that as well. So hopefully, Gus, that is already taken care of in the budget. That's not an extra cost item.
Correct. If actually, to be honest with you, it's a savings. Because even though they're making more money, number one, it took them out of the union. And number two, they went from hourly to salary people. So your overtime.
Okay. The next thing I was going to...
How are they gonna
They
feel about
actually
working
work.
90 hours a week?
Welcome to the life of a salary.
It's a bad move.
That'll never happen.
And I will say that I'm going to disagree with how things were moved around. I would not have taken the money out of the tax collector's office, and I would not have added it back into planning and land use. I would have looked at other departments that I would consider less necessary to the town and taken the money out of that instead. As much as different people would have been very pained by that, and certainly, Gus, you'd be hearing about it. I think that if we're going to continue on and trying to redistribute the money, and Dick, I'm going to say, seeing what I'm seeing here, I'd rather have a chance to study this than finally do what we were going to do before, which was have a chance to come up with a different way of doing this.
We don't have any more chances unless you want to vote.
Croc TV.